Go to Tracey Brown Live. Go to Tracey Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracey Brown Live. Go to Tracey Brown Live. Go to Tracey Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracey Brown Live. Go to Tracey Brown Live. Go to Tracey Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracey Brown Live. Go to Tracey Brown Live. Go to Tracey Brown Live.
Good morning. Good morning. We're doing the morning report. How is everyone doing? Let's get the morning report out the way. Let's see what today's messaging is for you. What do you need to know? Hello, sweeties, for the morning report. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. I'm going to pick this one. You guys can't see it. No, I lost it. But I'm going to pick this one because it was kind of sticking out. Fear. Fear. Gotta trust spirit in the process, right? Spirit wants us to talk about fear. Let's see what is. Oh, it's a card missing. Oh, I didn't put it back in. That's all right. Fear. Fear is preventing you from living and experiencing your true potential. Who am I talking to? Perhaps you've tried to suppress your fear, but this has simply locked it away inside you and has cast a kind of invisible shadow over your life. Fear is not bad. It can be a bit of a good thing for us too. But when our fears blow out of proportion, become irrational, and start to control our lives, then it's time to face and heal the fear. Face them one at a time. Give them your undivided attention. Acknowledge and love. Observe and talk. Embrace. With practice, love, and patience, each fear will dissolve and transform to light. The healing power of love will then fill your heart, mind, and thoughts, and you shall come to know and trust that you are always safe. For you are an immortal, eternal child of the universe, an immortal, eternal sound of love. So let's talk about fear. What are some of your childhood fears? Those are easy to talk about. Childhood fears that you've overcome, right? Mine used to be elevators. I don't know what the irrational thought was with elevators, but I would get in the elevator and panic. Literally have a panic attack. I have been doing this since age 5, maybe 4. I remember the last time I was in an elevator, it was around age 9 or 10. And I remember thinking to myself, like I literally had to, I was a kid and had to talk myself out of this. And I had to say to myself, nothing's going to happen in the elevator. You will get to your destination. Press the button and trust that you will get there. And from the age of 10, I began to release my fear of elevators. But I always still had this fear of elevators. So even when I went to my mom's complex, I never felt like those elevators could be trusted because I've known for them to break down the whole weekend. And one of my fears is it going to break down the whole weekend and nobody's going to know that I'm in the elevator? So sometimes you would get in those elevators and you would press my mom's floor and it would skip it and it would go to 12. Well, I would get out. I would not stay on to believe that it would go back down because chances are it went back down to the first floor. My other fear with elevators was the cable breaking and it would just free fall. So I was capable of going to my mom's house because I had already taught myself not to fear, even though the fear was always there and for me was always rational. And the last time I went on a really big elevator, I went on it twice. I was at the World Trade Center, and the World Trade Center had a system set up. So if I remember correctly, there was no one elevator that went all the way from ground to 100, right? So it would go from ground, there would be these fast elevators, horrible feeling, that would go from ground to like floor 60. And then from floor 60, it would be local or something like that, I remembered. And because I had recovered from my fear of elevators, I got on the fast elevator and didn't like it. Didn't like the concept, didn't understand the concept. I think if you can go up that fast, you can come down that fast. If you come down that fast, you're dead at the bottom, right? So I remember thinking when the World Trade Center came down, how that was the only building I never worked in. Spirit would not give me a job. It was Wall Street. I worked all down Wall Street, but Spirit would not give me a job in the World Trade Center. Probably because of my irrational fear of elevators. When I got to California, I went to another building, high rise, which is very odd for California. We don't have high rises because of earthquakes. But this was one of the newer buildings with earthquake equipped, blah, 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 blah. And so I did work in that building. And that, you know, high rise in California could mean 20 stories. Seriously, floor 20. But for us, it was a big high rise. I don't think it was more than 20 floors. And I just remember working in that high rise and the irrational fears kept coming. And so I finally decided I could not live with the irrational fears that something could happen to me in the elevators, and I quit. To date, nothing crazy has ever happened in that building. It literally is just a fear of mine, right? And ironically, most places that I've lived have not had elevators. Or I would live on the first floor where I didn't need the elevator. So what fears are holding you back? What fear is preventing you from living and experiencing your true potential? Perhaps you've tried to suppress your fear, but then you just lock it inside you. And there's a shadow cast over your whole life. So a lifetime of fear of elevators is always inside of me. But how do I work around it? I don't work in places where I have to take elevators. I don't live in places where I have to take elevators. None of that. So I've worked around it so I can optimize a best life. Do I need to go into buildings for whatever reason that has elevators? Yes. And I don't let it stop me. But when our fears are blown out of proportion or become irrational and start to control our lives, for instance, like there are some people that won't leave their homes, right? There are some people that won't leave their homes because of COVID. I can't take this weird fly here. I hate the flies. There are some people that won't leave their homes because of COVID. That's an irrational fear, right? Because we know you don a mask, and now with monkeypox, I'm being told by one of my group mates, wear gloves. And you could venture out, right? So it's not an irrational fear. Do you think this fear is from previous lives? Yes. But I didn't know about previous lives when I was 8 or 4. I know now, right? But yeah, definitely. But even if it's a previous life, how previous was it? Because technically, elevators was in the last century, right? So what's that about even, right? So maybe, what other thing could mimic an elevator in a previous life? I don't know. That's a good question now. Fear can be good for us. Being afraid can be good for us. Like sharks are deciding they don't like people in their water, right? I don't think I'm going to go to the beach very much right now. I'm going to see what the sharks are going to do, right? I'll go to the beach, but I'm not swimming out with the sharks. It's not happening. Mine shafts have elevators. Okay. Interesting. Okay. All right. That's interesting that you say that. Thank you. Yeah, that could equate to an irrational fear. Thank you for that. She's so sweet. Because, by the way, I don't believe I was a female in any of my past lives for a while. I believe my most recent past lives were men. So that's very interesting. That definitely could be possible. Oh, same thing. When I was a child, escalators caused me to be fearful. I didn't trust the mechanism would crush my feet. Thankfully, I've overcome my fear of escalators. There you go. I'm looking to have the perspective when I was a child. I was exploring everything and just having fun. I was just talking about taking risks, and it's time to grow fearlessly, right? Because one fear begats another fear. So if you don't overcome small fears, would you ever venture to travel? I have a fear of flying, to be honest with you. Every time I have a fear of flying, I get on a plane anyway. But I kind of get on the plane under different reasons now, right? Right now, it's more spiritual, right? Now it's trusting God that that's not how things are supposed to end for me. So I get on a plane knowing that I'm not going to embed myself in that type of fear. All right? With practice and love of yourself, this is about self-love, and patience, every fear that you have will dissolve and transform to light. The healing power of love will then fill your heart, your mind, which is where fear lives, and thoughts. And you shall come to know and trust that you are always safe, right? Some of us have a fear of leaving our relationships because we're immigrants, right? Or because we're not working, or because we are led to believe that we can't be capable. These are rational fears too. And the fears are very real depending upon who's putting the thought in your mind. Do you understand? Thank you, Miss Shay. So, at some point when we have fears as adults that compromise us, maybe because someone wants you to be fearful, that's when you're going to have to learn to look at what's being done to you and not let that person win. You're nothing without me. You'll never be anything. I'll send you back to your country. I'd rather be a nothing and surviving than be under the thumb of somebody's mental control. Something you said in the horoscopes about relating to things to spirituality. And I realized connecting it helps me move forward. Yeah, there has to be a trust factor, right? That no human can keep you down. That you can break the chains of fear. Hi, Samara. That you can break the chains of fear. But it takes practice, right? Some chains our parents put in us, right? Some chains lead us to believe that we can't do anything without our parents. And then we then take whatever that is and match it to our external relationships and create our own families, which creates a family of fear. But practice talking to yourself. I'm no longer fearful of elevators. I'm going to go in the elevator. Not today, but I'm going to go in. I'm no longer fearful of zip liners. And I want to try a zip line company. You know, but there are some things I would never do, right? I'm not climbing a mountain. It's not going to happen. I want to ski. It's not a thing that's necessary either. And I've been to Big Bear, and I didn't even pick up skis, because it's just not necessary. That's not a fear of mine. It's like, I want to, but do I want to? You know, fear stifles you. So I hope I got your message across. The word fear really bothered me. I was like, no, Spirit, not again. Let's not talk about something bad, but either talking about something that grabs us. Last thing I'm going to talk about is fear of social media. Fear that you can't be seen. I don't know what to do with social media. Just show up. Just show up. Just videotape yourself doing something. That in itself will eradicate some form of the fear, and it will produce other materials, and you will get better and better and better. Hi, Lottie. Well, the metaverse is a bullshit concept, though, so don't listen to the metaverse. The metaverse is Zuckerberg, and Zuckerberg is a fucking idiot. If you think of Zuckerberg as a fucking idiot, you can't be afraid of the metaverse. The metaverse doesn't control you. The metaverse is a mind fuck. If you remember that it's a mind fuck, you won't have a problem. Fuck the metaverse. That's what I say. We good? Always has to end in anger, people. Bye, everyone.
Gals and guys, go to Tracey Brown Live. Go to Tracey Brown Live. Go to Tracey Brown.